Welcome in, everybody, to our deep dive this time into the Reserve Bank of India's annual report for 2023-24.
Yeah, this is a big one. A lot of information packed in here.
Oh, it's massive.
Yeah.
But we're going to break it down, make it, easy to digest, help everyone understand what's going on in the Indian economy.
Absolutely. Think of it as like your cheat sheet to India's financial landscape.
Exactly. And we're going to cover everything from the global picture to very specific, financial innovations happening in India.
A lot of exciting developments to unpack.
Yeah. So let's start big picture, right?
Yeah.
Global economic scene. How the world do in 2023?
So the report paints a picture of resilience, but also some serious challenges. Inflation was a big one.
Right.
Geopolitical tensions were still simmering. And of course, those risks to financial stability never really go away.
Yeah, I remember all the headlines about supply chains and, prices going up.
Yeah.
Did all that global stuff impact India too?
Oh, definitely. The report highlights how those global factors, trade inflation, they all influence the RBI's decisions.
Okay, so it's all connected.
Yeah, it's like a ripple effect.
Wow.
What happens globally has a direct impact on India.
Makes sense. So global picture is important.
Yeah.
But what about India specifically? What were some of the big highlights?
Well, one thing that really jumped out at me was India's performance on climate action.
Oh, yeah.
They actually jumped to the fourth best performing nation out of 63 countries in the Climate Change Performance Index.
Wow, fourth. That's impressive. What drove that?
They really stepped up their game in reducing emissions, promoting renewable energy, even launched some pretty ambitious initiatives.
Like what?
The carbon credit trading scheme, the National Green Hydrogen Mission. These aren't just, slogans on paper. These could reshape entire industries.
Wow, so India is aiming to be a leader in this whole sustainability thing.
It seems that way. And these initiatives have the potential to attract major investments, too. So it's good for the economy.
Okay, but those initiatives sound pretty complex. Could you break them down a bit more? How do they actually affect, the average person?
Sure. So the carbon credit trading scheme basically creates a market where companies can buy and sell credits based on their emissions.
So you're putting a price on pollution?
Exactly. It encourages companies to reduce their footprint because they can potentially profit from it.
Interesting. So it's like rewarding those who are cleaner.
Right. And then you have the National Green Hydrogen Mission. This aims to make India a hub for hydrogen fuel, a cleaner alternative to fossil fuels.
Yeah, I've heard about that. So that could impact everything from transportation to how we generate electricity.
Exactly. It's a pretty big deal.
Okay, so India is making strides in sustainability. But what about the nuts and bolts of the economy? Interest rates, government spending. How did those look?
Right. So the report goes into the RBI's monetary policy actions. That's basically how they control the money supply and interest rates.
Okay.
The big news is the Monetary Policy Committee, the folks who decide on the repo rate, they kept it steady at 6.50% for the entire year.
I'm curious, why keep it unchanged? Wouldn't that slow down the economy?
That's a great question. And the report suggests they were walking a tightrope. They wanted to control inflation, but also not stifle growth.
So holding steady was a way to balance those two goals.
Exactly. It's a delicate balancing act.
It's like trying to, keep a kite flying steady in the wing too much, pull in one direction and it crashes.
Perfect analogy. So how about government spending? What did the report say about fiscal policy?
Yeah, how did the government do with managing its money?
Well, the report highlights that they made significant progress in getting their finances in order. They reduced the fiscal deficit to 5.9% of GDP.
So that's the gap between how much they spend and how much they earn.
Right, and less debt usually means more stability.
That's good news for the economy, right?
Absolutely, and what's even more impressive is they did this while increasing spending on infrastructure.
So they're thinking long-term, even while being fiscally responsible.
Exactly. It shows a commitment to growth.
It's a tough balance to strike. And what about tax revenue? Do people pay their taxes?
Well, the report shows tax revenues actually hit their highest levels since 2008-09, thanks in large part to strong income tax collections.
So more people earning and contributing.
That's what the numbers suggest.
Okay, so it seems like the government's efforts to manage its finances are paying off. But I'm curious, did the report delve into any specific programs or initiatives?
Yes. Actually, it mentions a really interesting one. They talk about implementing a public tech platform for frictionless credit.
Frictionless credit. That sounds intriguing.
Yeah, it's all about streamlining the lending process, making it easier for people to access credit.
That could be huge, especially for small businesses and entrepreneurs.
Definitely something we'll have to dig into more later.
Okay, for now, let's shift gears a bit. Talk about something I always find fascinating, financial technology.
Ah, yes. India's fintech scene is booming, and the report has a lot to say about it.
One of the biggest success stories I've heard is UPI. that mobile payment system.
UPI is incredible. It's basically taken India by storm.
I've heard so much about it, but for those who aren't familiar, could you give us a quick rundown?
Sure, so UPI lets you transfer money instantly between bank accounts using your smartphone.
So no more, waiting for checks to clear or going to the bank.
Exactly. It's all digital, super convenient, and easy to use.
I can see why it's so popular. Did the report mention anything about its impact on the economy?
Oh, yeah, big time. In March 2024 alone, UPI recorded a mind-boggling 13 billion transactions.
13 billion. That's a lot of money moving around digitally.
It's a massive volume, and it shows how UPI is transforming the way people transact.
So what's driving this crazy growth? Is it just convenience, or are there other factors?
It's a combination of things. UPI is user-friendly, it's secure, and it's available to anyone with a smartphone.
So accessibility is key.
Absolutely. And it's spurred innovation, too. New features are constantly being added, like conversational payments.
Conversational payments, what's that?
It lets you make payments just by talking to your banking app.
Wow, so I can just say, send 100 rupees to my friend and it happens?
Pretty much, it's like something out of a sci-fi movie.
That's incredible. But what about those who are less tech-savvy or don't have smartphones? Is the RBI doing anything to make sure they aren't left behind?
That's a great question, and the report highlights the RBI's focus on financial inclusion. They're running pilot projects for digital Kisan credit cards.
Kisan credit cards, those are for farmers, right?
Exactly. It's about making credit more accessible to them, and they're also working on digital dairy loans to empower those in the dairy industry.
So it's about bringing the benefits of digital finance to everyone, not just those in urban areas with fancy gadgets.
Exactly. It's about leveling the playing field, and they're constantly refining the system, too. Did you know the RBI has enabled NFC technology in UPI Lite?
NFC, like for contactless payments?
Yep, so now people can even make offline payments with UPI.
Wow, so even small innovations can have a big impact.
It's all about expanding access and making things easier for everyone.
Okay, so it's clear the RBI is pushing the boundaries with fintech. But speaking of pushing boundaries, let's talk about that digitalization of the entire credit process you mentioned.
Ah, yes, the frictionless credit platform. This is all about using technology to streamline lending and make it more accessible.
So from what I understand, it uses data and algorithms to assess creditworthiness.
You got it. Instead of relying on traditional methods like credit scores and piles of paperwork.
It leverages alternative data sources like digital payment history.
Exactly. And it can even factor in things like social media activity.
Wait, social media? How does that play into creditworthiness?
It's about building a more holistic picture of a person's financial behavior.
So it's a more nuanced approach.
Right, and it could open up access to credit for those who might have been excluded by traditional methods.
That's pretty amazing.
It's about leveling the playing field and empowering individuals.
But with all this reliance on data, are there any concerns about privacy?
Of course, the report acknowledges those concerns and emphasizes the need for strong data protection measures.
So it's about striking a balance between innovation and safeguarding sensitive information.
Absolutely. And the RBI is committed to ensuring responsible use of data.
Okay, so this frictionless credit platform really speaks to the RBI's commitment to financial inclusion.
It's just one example of how they're using technology to make the system work for everyone.
And it ties into those pilot projects for keys on credit cards and dairy loans.
It's all about reaching underserved communities and providing them with the tools to succeed.
It's not just about giving people access to credit. It's about empowering them to build a better future.
And creating a more inclusive economy.
Okay, we've talked a lot about the positives. But are there any downsides or challenges that the report highlights?
Well, as with any major technological shift, there are always risks to consider.
Cybersecurity immediately comes to mind. Are we more vulnerable to attacks with all this digital stuff?
The report acknowledges that cybersecurity threats are becoming increasingly sophisticated.
And with so much financial activity online, the stakes are higher than ever.
Exactly. The RBI is very aware of these risks and is constantly working to strengthen cybersecurity measures.
It's an ongoing battle to stay ahead.
But beyond cybersecurity, there's also the challenge of managing this transition to a digital economy in a way that benefits everyone.
We need to make sure those who might not have the skills or resources to adapt aren't left behind.
It's about bridging the digital divide and creating opportunities for all.
So it's not just about developing cool technologies, it's about ensuring equitable access.
And it requires collaboration between the government, the private sector, and civil society.
Now, speaking of the government, what role do they play in all of this? Does their approach to economic management align with the RBI's vision?
That's a crucial question, and the report sheds some light on this collaboration.
So we know the government is responsible for fiscal policy, things like taxation and spending. But how do those decisions impact what the RBI is doing?
Well, for starters, the government's efforts to consolidate its finances, remember that fiscal deficit reduction we talked about,
Right.
that creates a more stable economic environment.
And a stable environment makes it easier for the RBI to do its job of controlling inflation and maintaining stability.
Exactly. It's like they're working in tandem.
And on the flip side, the RBI's efforts to promote credit growth and ensure a healthy financial system create a good environment for businesses to invest and for the economy to expand.
It's a virtuous cycle. Each institution's actions support the other's goals.
Makes sense. And the report also mentions specific areas where they're working together.
Right? Absolutely. Like promoting financial inclusion and fostering the growth of the digital economy.
So, for example, the government's Digital India program aligns perfectly with the RBI's push for digital payments and fintech adoption.
They're both striving to create a more digitally empowered India.
It's like they're two players on the same team working towards a common goal.
And that kind of collaboration is essential for navigating the complexities of the modern economy.
Okay, so we've explored the challenges, the opportunities, the collaborative efforts shaping India's financial landscape. But now let's shift gears a bit and talk about something that affects everyone's daily life, inflation.
Ah, yes, that dreaded word that seems to be on everyone's mind these days.
Definitely. The report provides some interesting insights into how inflation works in India.
It's a fascinating topic.
I'm always curious what drives those price fluctuations. Is it just global factors, or are there more local things at play?
It's a complex interplay of factors.
Now, we know global commodity prices have an impact. But what about things like the monsoon season or disruptions in domestic supply chains?
The report delves into those nuances and highlights how seemingly unrelated events can ripple through the economy and affect prices.
It's like a delicate ecosystem where everything is interconnected.
Exactly. And understanding those connections is crucial for making informed decisions, whether you're a policymaker or just an individual trying to manage your budget.
Speaking of individuals, does the report offer any insights into how inflation is impacting different regions of India?
Absolutely. It acknowledges that inflation doesn't affect everyone equally.
That makes sense. India is such a diverse country. I imagine consumption patterns, agricultural output, even infrastructure can vary greatly from state to state.
You're right, and the report analyzes how those variations can lead to different inflation rates across regions.
So what might be considered high inflation in one state could be normal in another.
Precisely, and this regional perspective is crucial for policymakers because it highlights the need for targeted interventions.
It's about recognizing that a one-size-fits-all approach might not work.
And it's about ensuring that policies are tailored to the specific challenges faced by different communities.
Okay, so we've got a handle on inflation now. Let's zoom out again and talk about the big picture, the future of finance in India.
What trends and challenges should we be watching for?
It feels like we're on the cusp of a major transformation. Technology is disrupting everything.
And the report makes it clear that this trend will only accelerate.
So we can expect even more innovative financial products and services powered by AI, blockchain, and other cutting-edge technologies.
But alongside those exciting advancements, we also need to be mindful of the potential risks.
Cybersecurity threats will continue to evolve, requiring constant vigilance and innovation to stay ahead.
And as the lines between traditional finance and technology continue to blur, new regulatory challenges will emerge.
The RBI will need to adapt its rules and oversight to keep pace with these rapid changes.
It's about finding the right balance between fostering innovation and ensuring stability.
A delicate balancing act indeed.
Now, another key trend to watch is the growing focus on sustainability.
We're seeing this across all industries, and finance is no exception.
Investors are increasingly demanding that companies prioritize ESG factors in their operations.
ESG, that's environmental, social, and governance, right?
Exactly, and this is driving a surge in green bonds, impact investing, and other sustainable finance initiatives.
So it's not just about maximizing profits anymore.
It's about creating value in a way that benefits society and the planet.
Finance is becoming more purpose-driven.
And this shift in mindset will have a profound impact on the future of finance in India and beyond.
Okay, so technology sustainability and the need for agile regulation. Those are some big trends to keep our eyes on.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought.
I'm all ears.
The RBI's annual report is more than just a collection of data points and policy announcements.
It's a reflection of India's economic journey and its aspirations for the future.
It's a story of resilience, innovation, and inclusion, a story that's still being written.
And as you delve deeper into these topics, keep in mind the broader context.
How will these trends shape the lives of ordinary people, the trajectory of businesses, and the very fabric of the Indian economy?
Those are the questions that will continue to drive our analysis and exploration.
So stay curious, stay engaged, and join us for the next part of our deep dive where we'll bring it all together and explore what it means for you. Welcome back to our deep dive, everybody.
We've already uncovered some fascinating stuff about the Indian economy, right?
Yeah, just scratching the surface, though.
Yeah, we got to go deeper.
That's right.
Let's pick up where we left off with that frictionless credit platform.
Yeah, that one's really intriguing.
It sounds revolutionary.
It has the potential to be a game changer.
The report mentioned faster loan approvals, lower interest rates, but how does it actually work?
Well, it leverages data analysis and sophisticated algorithms to assess creditworthiness.
Okay, so instead of those traditional methods like credit screws and tons of paperwork.
Exactly. It uses alternative data sources like digital payment history, even social media activity.
Wait, social media, how does that factor into creditworthiness?
Well, it's about painting a more complete picture of an individual's financial behavior.
Huh. That's fascinating. A much more nuanced approach than just looking at a credit score.
Right. And it could open up access to credit for people who might have been excluded by those traditional methods.
Yeah, this could be huge for people who are new to the credit system or maybe don't have a formal credit history.
Absolutely. It's about leveling the playing field and empowering individuals.
But with all this reliance on data, are there any concerns about privacy and security?
Of course, the report acknowledges those concerns, and it stresses the need for robust data protection measures.
So it's a balance between innovation and protecting sensitive information.
Exactly. And the RBI is committed to ensuring the responsible use of data.
Okay, so this frictionless credit platform really shows the RBI's dedication to financial inclusion.
It's a great example of how they're using technology to benefit everyone.
And it connects back to those pilot projects for digital Kisan credit cards and those dairy loans, too.
Right. It's all about reaching underserved communities and giving them the tools they need.
It's not just about giving people access to credit. It's about empowering them to manage their finances and build a better future.
Exactly. And creating a more inclusive economy overall.
Okay, so we've talked about the positive side. Are there any potential downsides or challenges that the report mentions?
Well, as with any big technological change, there are always some risks to consider.
Yeah, like cybersecurity is the first thing that comes to mind. Are we more vulnerable to attacks with everything moving online?
The report acknowledges that cybersecurity threats are becoming more and more sophisticated.
And with so much financial activity happening online, the stakes are higher than ever.
Exactly. The RBI knows this, and they're constantly working to strengthen cybersecurity measures.
So it's a constant battle to stay one step ahead.
But beyond just cybersecurity, there's also the challenge of managing this transition to a digital economy in a way that benefits everyone.
Right. We need to make sure that people who might not have the skills or resources to adapt aren't left behind.
Exactly. It's about bridging the digital divide and creating opportunities for all.
So it's not just about building new technologies. It's about making sure everyone has access and providing support where it's needed.
And it's going to take collaboration between the government, the private sector, and civil society to make that happen.
Now, speaking of the government, what role do they play in all of this? Does their approach to economic management align with what the RBI is doing?
That's a key question, and the report does shed some light on that collaboration.
Okay, so we know the government handles fiscal policy, things like taxes and spending, but how do those decisions affect the RBI's work?
Well, first of all, the government's efforts to get their finances in order, remember that fiscal deficit reduction we talked about?
Yeah.
That creates a more stable economic environment overall.
And that stability makes it easier for the RBI to do its job of controlling inflation and keeping the financial system stable.
Precisely. It's like they're working together towards the same goals.
Right. And on the other hand, the RBI's work to promote credit growth and make sure the financial system is healthy, that creates a good environment for businesses to invest and for the economy to grow.
It's a win-win situation. Each institution's actions support the other.
It makes sense. And the report even mentions some specific areas where they're working together.
Definitely things like promoting financial inclusion and supporting the growth of the digital economy.
So, for example, the government has the Digital India program, which aligns perfectly with what the RBI is doing with digital payments and fintech.
Exactly. They're both trying to create a more digitally empowered India.
It's like they're on the same team working towards a common goal.
And that kind of collaboration is absolutely essential in today's complex economy.
Okay, so we've talked about challenges, opportunities, collaboration. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about something that affects everyone's daily life, inflation.
Ah, yes. Inflation, always a hot topic.
Definitely, the report has some interesting insights into how inflation works in India.
It's a complex issue.
I'm always curious what causes those price fluctuations. Is it global factors or are there local things going on too?
It's a mix of both, really.
So we know global commodity prices play a role, but what about things like the monsoon season here in India or disruptions in our own supply chains?
The report talks about those nuances and how events that seem unrelated can actually have a ripple effect on the economy and drive prices up or down.
So everything is interconnected.
Exactly, and understanding those connections is crucial for making good decisions, whether you're a policymaker or just an individual trying to manage your own finances.
Speaking of individuals, does the report say anything about how inflation is affecting different parts of India?
It acknowledges that inflation doesn't affect everyone in the same way.
That makes sense. India is such a diverse country. Different regions have different consumption patterns, different agricultural output. Even the infrastructure can vary widely.
You're right, and the report analyzes how those regional differences can lead to variations in inflation rates.
So what might be considered high inflation in one state might be totally normal in another.
Exactly. And this regional perspective is really important for policymakers because it shows that a one-size-fits-all approach to dealing with inflation might not be effective.
So policies need to be tailored to the specific challenges of each region.
Exactly. It's about understanding the local context.
Okay, so we've got a better understanding of inflation. Now let's zoom out again and talk big picture. The future of finance in India. What are the big trends and challenges we should be looking out for?
Well, feels like we're in the middle of a huge transformation. Technology is changing everything.
And the report suggests this is just the beginning.
Definitely. We can expect to see even more financial products and services powered by things like artificial intelligence, blockchain, all sorts of cutting-edge technology.
It's exciting, but also a little bit intimidating.
True. And along with all these opportunities come new risks as well.
Like cybersecurity.
Cybersecurity threats are constantly evolving, so we need to be vigilant and keep innovating to stay ahead.
And as traditional finance and technology continue to merge, we're going to see new regulatory challenges as well.
The RBI will need to adapt its rules and oversight to keep up with these rapid changes.
So it's a balancing act between promoting innovation and making sure things stay stable.
Exactly. It's about finding the right balance.
Now, another big trend we're seeing is the focus on sustainability.
This is happening in every industry, and finance is no exception.
Investors are demanding that companies take environmental, social, and governance factors seriously.
And this is leading to a surge in things like green bonds, impact investing, all sorts of sustainable finance initiatives.
So it's not just about making money anymore.
It's about making money in a way that's good for society and the planet.
Finance is becoming more purpose-driven.
And this shift in thinking will have a major impact on the future of finance in India and around the world.
Okay, so technology, sustainability, the need for agile regulation. These are some big trends to watch.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to leave you with one last thought.
Okay, go for it.
The RBI's annual report isn't just a boring document full of technical terms.
It's a window into the heart of the Indian economy.
It tells a story of ambition, resilience, and transformation, a story that's still being written.
And as you explore these topics, think about the bigger picture.
How will these trends affect ordinary people, businesses, the overall fabric of the Indian economy?
Those are the questions we'll continue to explore.
So stay curious, stay engaged, and join us for the final part of our deep dive, where we'll tie it all together and talk about what it all means for you.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to the final part of our deep dive.
Time to bring it all together.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground in the last two parts.
From the global scene to some really specific innovations happening in India.
It's been quite a journey through this RBI report.
A lot of insights packed in here.
One thing that really struck me was just how many different topics this report covers.
Yeah, it really shows you just how many different roles the RBI plays in the Indian economy.
They're not just about, managing currency or setting those interest rates.
Right. They're involved in shaping the entire financial landscape, promoting innovation, making sure things stay stable, advocating for inclusion. It's a lot.
It is. And speaking of inclusion, I wanted to circle back to those pilot projects for digital keys on credit cards and dairy loans.
Those are some really interesting initiatives.
They represent a concrete effort to connect those underserved communities with the formal financial system.
It's about empowering people who might not have had access to traditional banking before.
And it has the potential to unlock so much economic opportunity, especially in rural areas.
Absolutely. It's a perfect example of how financial innovation can lead to real social impact.
And another big theme that I kept coming back to is sustainability.
Yeah, the report really highlights how important ESG factors are becoming in investment decisions.
And it shows how committed the RBI is to promoting sustainable finance.
It's a recognition that financial institutions have a responsibility to consider the environmental and social impact of their actions.
Sustainability isn't just a buzzword anymore. It's a core principle that should guide all financial decision-making.
It's a big shift in mindset, and it's going to have some major implications.
Okay, so we've talked about inclusion sustainability. What other key takeaways should our listeners keep in mind from this report?
I think the RBI's proactive approach to managing risk really stands out.
The report goes into detail about their supervisory and regulatory framework for banks and other financial institutions.
It's about setting clear rules, conducting those stress tests, identifying potential problems early on.
It's like having a safety net to help prevent those financial crises.
And it shows how dedicated the RBI is to keeping the Indian financial system stable and secure.
But as we've discussed, the financial landscape is constantly changing and evolving.
Technology is disrupting traditional ways of doing things. New players are entering the market. The lines between different parts of the industry are becoming blurred.
So how does the RBI stay ahead of the curve in this kind of environment?
Well, the report really emphasizes the importance of agility and adaptability.
The RBI knows they need to constantly be reassessing their approach
Embracing innovation while maintaining stability, finding that sweet spot.
and fostering a regulatory environment that encourages growth but also manages risk.
It's a delicate balancing act, but it seems like the RBI is up to the challenge.
So to wrap things up here, I think it's safe to say that the RBI's annual report is much more than just a bunch of data and policy announcements.
Oh, definitely. It's a glimpse into the heart of the Indian economy.
It tells a story of ambition, resilience, and transformation, a story that's still being written.
And it's full of valuable insights for anyone who wants to understand what's shaping India's financial future.
So we encourage all of you to take some time to explore the report yourself. Dive into the areas that interest you most.
And think about how these trends and insights connect to your own life, your own work, your own perspective.
Because at the end of the day, the knowledge you gain from this report can help you make better decisions.
Whether you're an investor, a business owner, or just an engaged citizen.
So thank you all for joining us on this deep dive into the RBI's annual report.
We hope you found it informative and engaging.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those minds engaged.